Do you think that you'd be much impacted if this was a 45-minute show? I think a lot of my enjoyment comes from the fact that it's over so quick that I can just watch it real easily and not care. And some, I think patrons or listeners were saying that this show is good, but they wish that it could be 45 minutes. And I'm like, no, I don't want 45 minutes of this. Like, I just want the 22 and to get me out of there. And I was wondering if it was longer, would I be more harsh on it? And I think I probably would, to like to a pretty strong degree. I think if this was a longer episode, I'd be much more, I'd be less forgiving of it. I think because I feel like it's consuming a lot of my time that it's not deserving, really, which sounds really harsh, but like the 45-minute or an hour is a lot to ask of people, and this is not. It's a 20-minute episode.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you really gaining from making it twice the length? You know, like
it comes back to what we were saying about if you wanted to do a Star Trek episode parody, you kind of do need more time for it because you need to build off of things. But if they're just going to make jokes at the expense of Star Trek, 20 minutes is fine for that amount of material.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I've never looked at an episode of The Simpsons and said, I wish this was an hour long. Yeah. Or an episode of South Park and said, oh, I wish this was an hour long.
That's what the movies are for.
Right. Yeah. You know, a special occasion. Yeah, I just don't know what gets added. I don't think the time restraint is a that much of a limiter because those other shows that I mentioned tell amazing stories in 22 minutes. I think it probably feels like it should be longer because the pace is so fast. Generally, so it probably feels like, oh well, if they just slowed things down and let things breathe, maybe blah blah blah. But that's not what they. Well, I think they want to do, I guess.
I think what they cut out is the science fiction part of it. So the missions of Lower Decks are just like, here's a very familiar situation. The problem immediately happens, and here's our immediate solution to the problem. Because it's not really about the adventure of the sci-fi journey that Star Trek normal episodes are. It's just about inserting a template onto something and then making some cracks about it and then getting the hell out of there very quickly in a way that we complain about with Discovery and stuff, but it's not that kind of show. It doesn't need to have a resolution that's like, well, that tied up very nicely. It can have a cartoony resolution to it and it's acceptable.
Yeah. Well, like, is the Orville an hour? I think the Orville's a half an hour, isn't it? Or are those hour-long
No,
episodes?
I think they're hours. I think they're 45 minutes.
Are they really?
Yeah, I think so.
I assume they were a half hour. We'll scratch that, I guess.
Let me check.
But,
yeah. Orville.
No, I don't know if this specific show is really, if you really get that much by adding another half an hour.
Yeah, they're 45-minute episodes.
Oh, they are. Huh.
Yeah.
Why did I think they were whatever. But yeah, I think, I mean, honestly, I find half an hour shows refreshing at this point.
Yeah, I do too.
Because everything is trying to be a fucking prestige drama now.
I find the worst. I even when we go back to Star Trek and it's a 42-minute episode, I'm like, fantastic. When all the new HBO shows are like 58 minutes, like 68 minutes, it's like riding that hour mark. And it's like, just ramp it up in 40. That's fine.
Yeah. Then there's the ones where it's like, well, we actually don't have time caps because HBO is going to let us tell the story we need in the time that we need to do it. So it's like, oh, this episode is actually 85 minutes. Okay, great.